Welcome to your Building Elements module on doors. This module will introduce you to various types of doors used in residential construction. It will discuss door paneling and other types of flush and fire rated doors. It will then introduce framing techniques for different materials, and finally outline essential hardware used for doors as well. In the associated reading, you will start with the identification of different types of doors. Mostly in residential construction, we use side-hung doors. However, it's useful to know the different configuration of side-hung doors, as well as sliding doors and other composite sliding and folding doors that might be used. The more relevant thing to focus on is the different types of timber doors. You should be able to identify the panel door, the flush door, and the match-boarded door. Here, pay particular attention to the different parts of the panel door: the top and bottom rail, the stiles that form the sides, as well as middle rails that might be used in different types of panel doors. This will be important to understand the construction of the doors, which is discussed in further detail in the following sections. Here we return to the mortise and tenon joint as a basis for the construction of the top, the middle, and the bottom rail, which is directly attached to the stile of the door. However, these constructions can also be done using dowels as well as gluing and wedging the different parts of the door. So read through those in detail, but please pay more attention to the drawings, as you will need to be able to identify these things in further. Once we understand the basic construction of the panel door, we will focus on the different types of panels that might be used within. Obviously, a standard panel is set into groove and is held in place by different moldings, but the shape and size of this panel can differ greatly. In a lot of cases, we can use raised and beveled panels, but as you will read further, you will recognize that it can also be substituted with glass panels, thereby changing the nature of the panel door altogether. Moving on from panel doors, I need to focus on the other type, which is the flush door. The construction of the flush door will need some sort of core, whether it is a cellular or a skeleton core, which is then covered by some form of plywood or hardwood, which is glued to this core. Once again, the sizing of the members is not important, but it is important to recognize the value of this homogeneous construction as a fire door. There are lots of details on the different types of construction and their different fire ratings. You don't need to remember that, but you should be able to understand how doors are used as fire barriers. Once we focus on doors as fire barriers, we also need to understand the role played by different sealants in trying to achieve the same. Moving on to the third type of timber door, we look at the match-boarded door. The match-boarded door uses a very similar idea of the three rails, but instead of attaching them to the stile directly, we use matchboards to construct the whole door panel. Once you've understood the construction of a basic panel door, it should be easy to understand the description here. Once again, the sizes are not that relevant. However, you should be able to understand the basic assembly and construction of these doors. Finally, we move towards the framing of the doors themselves. If you have looked at your module on window construction, this should be very similar. The head and side members of the frame have rebates and jambs to hold and allow for the door to move, as well as connect the entire assembly to the wall. Once again, most of this is achieved by the use of mortise and tenon joints. There are smaller details relating to weather stripping that should be focused on, as well as different kinds of lining that may affect the development of doors. A similar discussion continues with the use of metal doors aluminum doors as well as UPVC doors. These don't need to be focused on in a lot of detail. However, if you look at them, you will recognize that they use a similar construction system as we have possibly discussed in the design of window frames as well. Finally, the section on hardware will focus on hinges as well as latches. You do not need to remember the sizing or the construction of these as such, but you should be able to understand how they are used to complete door assembly. That's it for this module. See you in the next one. Thank you.